What's up, everybody? Ben Cruz here, the head of sports programming at Vover, and welcome to another episode of One and Done here on Vover. The concept of One and Done is very simple. One guest, one question, one answer. That is it. We're looking to bring you the best guests and the best questions on every show, which will lead to the best answers. On today's episode, we welcome someone who, before I basically moved over to listening to podcasts full time, was the person I looked forward to hearing from the most on my morning drives, listening to KNBR 680 here in the Bay Area. She's the former co-host of The Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game here in the Bay, along with my good friend, Bonte Hill. She was the first woman to do the following. I've got a list for you.
Oh, jeez.
Call a football game on the Pac-12 network, 1. 2, call an NFL game on the radio. 3, call a Golden State Warriors game on the radio, which, by the way, was part of an incredible all-female broadcast team. And 4, was the play-by-play voice for the first all-female NHL broadcast. She also managed to squeeze in calling Olympic basketball for NBC during this past summer's Tokyo Games and the Copa America soccer tournament for Fox. She's someone who recently traded proximity to Top Dog in Berkeley, to D'Alessandro's Steaks and Hoagies in Philadelphia, as she is now the play-by-play voice of the Philadelphia 76ers, the second woman ever, by the way, in the NBA to be hired as a full-time play-by-play announcer. She is someone who the word trailblazer doesn't fully do justice. She is Kate Scott. Kate, welcome to One and Done. This isn't my question, more so just a greeting.
I was going to say,
how are you doing?
We're out of time, Ben. We're out of time. It's been great being with you, man. I'll see you soon.
How are you doing, Kate?
Oh, I'm so good. It's so good to hook up with somebody who I've known for a really long time and is back in the Bay. I'm doing great. Philly is awesome, but I miss you guys.
Yeah, we miss you over here. Staying warm, I hope. It's gotten below 30 degrees here for the first time I think in a long time, and I think that sounds great.
I was going to say, it's been warmer here this week than it has been in the Bay, and you better believe I've been screenshotting the temperature out here and sending it back to my friends in the Bay, being like,
yes,
maybe you guys should move to Philly too. Just
that's a good play. I like that. You had this all planned out. I like it. Well, I'm sure, Kate. I'm sure you've been wondering, what my one question is. So I'm ready to fire it off if you are.
I'm nervous. One question, like my answer better not suck. So yeah,
I feel like it's on me. So I always get nervous right before I ask the question. So
okay, I'm nervous too.
Here we go. Okay,
yeah. Okay.
So, Kate, I listed, a few of the great milestones you've achieved in your career, and I know that there's more to come, but I wanted to go down memory lane with you a little bit. And in a recent interview you did with NBC Sports Bay Area, you talked about feeling like you belong here now, in the sports space, which is, something I definitely still struggle with on day-to-day, but especially other women working in sports, which is still a ridiculously male-dominated space. When you look back on your career so far and the steps it has taken to get to that feeling, of belonging, what was the toughest career moment that you had to fight through on that path to belonging? And on the flip side, what has been the most rewarding part of your career that has motivated you to keep going?
Oh man. Should I give you a hard time since that's technically two questions? No,
you should.
I'll get into it. I think that the hardest hurdle for me to overcome was actually my first trailblazing-esque step, which was actually back to KNBR where you were listening to me first when I was doing sports updates. That was my first kind of little big break in the Bay Area, big sports radio station, in San Francisco, and I was the first woman they'd hired full time. And people were not happy about it. They were very vocal about it on social media. And I knew there was going to be blowback, but I don't think I realized how much. And, just people every day tweeting me, "You suck. I hate you. You only got this job because you're pretty." And I was like, it's radio. That doesn't make sense. And also I disagree with your assessment, but thanks for the compliment. Anyway, and I remember going into Lee Hammer, my program director, the guy in charge of the station at that time, his office a couple weeks in. And I pride myself on always being put together. But I started to break down a little bit and started to get a little sniffly and was like, "Lee, I so appreciate this opportunity, man. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm right." And he goes, "Kate, listen, Jen, Jen Violet, his associate program director, he's like, we put a lot of thought into this.
Yeah.
uh, Jen played her woman card for you, and she's never played that card before. We know that you're right for this. And that's why it's taken us so long to hire a woman, because we knew she had to be the right woman. You are this woman. So we know it sucks right now, but keep going. And I'm so glad we had that conversation, because I did. And I fell in love with sports radio. And I think for the most part, the majority of listeners really came to accept me. It just took them a while. So I think that was the hardest, because I'd always been the only girl growing up playing sports and talking
Sure.
about sports through high school and stuff. So I was like, I'm ready for this. But it was a different level. So that level jump and leveling up, I guess you could say, was really hard. And then in a similar vein, a number of years later, when through KNBR and the 49ers, I got the opportunity to do my first play-by-play trailblazing with the 49ers preseason games. Same there. I was terrified. I was like, if you fuck this up, like, you were setting back not just your career, but like the entire gender, because I knew that a lot of people who were doing the hiring were going to say, oh, the 49ers took this up. I'm like, a little bit of a risk. Let's see how this chick out in San Francisco does. Like, if she doesn't suck, maybe we'll consider thinking outside the box and hiring a non-white man to call sports for us in the future. And I didn't have to put that responsibility on my shoulders, but I did, because it's really important to me to open doors for other people. And it was a really difficult 6 months. I got my first gray hairs during the months leading up to calling those preseason
Yeah.
football games that, again, I'm sure nobody actually listened to, because preseason football on the radio, it's like your 8th string cornerback is in on the second series. Nobody cares. But to me, it was a massive moment. So once I got over that, all the firsts that you list off since then have been scary, but I have understood that the fear is going to be there. And I just needed to be like, what's up, fear? Come sit down. Like, can I get you a drink? Because I know you're going to be here up until tip off or up until kick.
Yeah.
But you're a necessary part of this. And then I think the other part of the question was like moments where I've felt like it's all been worth it. Was that
Yeah.
kind of?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's so many, there's almost too many to count. But I'll flash back to the most recent one. So went to the Warriors Sixers game recently out here in Philly. Matisse Thybulle and Joel saying, not in our house, Steph, you're not going to set the record here. But a fantastic game, right? And I wasn't working it because it was a national broadcast, but just went because a number of Bay Area folks, obviously I wanted
Of course,
to
yeah.
friends, and they wanted to do some interviews with me. So I'm sitting down with Nick Friedel, our buddy from who was on the Morning Roast, right? Catching up with Nick. And a woman comes and taps me on the shoulder, and she's kind of shaking. I can tell she's really nervous. And she's like, are you Kate Scott? And you know me, I'm like, unless you hate her, yeah, like I'm Kate, what's going on? But I could tell she was nervous. So she either was really excited to meet me, or she was going to tell me that she hated my guts. But I quickly realized she was really excited. And she was like, I played sports when I was little, and like, I've been a Sixers fan, born and raised here in Philly. And it just means so much that you're here and you're doing a great job, and don't listen to the haters. And just like, would it be okay if I took a picture with you? And again, you know me, I was like, can I give you a hug first?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. So I gave her a hug, and I just said, it means so much that you came over here and said that to me, because I'm just doing this because I love it. And I feel so fortunate that I get paid to call sports, but to know that it is having this much of an impact on you, like, thank you. So that settled her down a little bit. And I saw her dad standing a little ways away. We were kind of like behind the velvet rope in the press area, but it's not, because it's pregame and we're with the writers and nobody cares. But dad was standing over there. I was like, is that your dad? Come on, bring your dad over. So dad came over and we chatted for a little bit. But I've obviously had a number of moments like that, and getting some tweets from people has been really cool, because I'm taking over for Mark Zumoff, Philly legend, been here for 27 years. I've gotten some tweets from dudes who were born and raised in Philly that have said, it was so awesome for me to grow up listening to Zoo. And now it is so fun for me to watch Sixers games with my daughter on my lap, knowing that she's going to grow up hearing you, and knowing that like maybe this could be something that she can do when she grows up. So again, I never set out to do that, right? I'm doing this because this is what I love, and I'm going to keep doing it to the best of my ability and see how far it can go. But to know that it is having an impact on people out there, hopefully mostly for the positive, and hopefully, inspiring and motivating some people and opening some minds along the way like that. I am aware of that and take it very seriously. And it's a pretty awesome aspect of what I'm doing for life now.
Yeah, I mean, two things that stood out to me there just during your answer was the first kind of again, listening to you on KNBR and the Morning Roast and everything you did before you moved to Philly, you just hear put together Kate Scott, and to hear like you almost had to like carry that burden from the jump is just wild to me because again, I forgot who. There's that saying, right, that like the stuff you see on social media like isn't real. Like that's all
Yeah.
It's just people
But it's
trolling and
hard
everything else.
sometimes. It's hard sometimes to realize that it's not.
It's really hard to separate that, especially when you work in sports, right? It becomes such an integral part of what we do,
Mhm.
and for you to have to carry that is just it's both painful but also like encouraging, if you will, that you were a trailblazer for you to do all those things as for but for you to fight through that, I think is something that I'll pass on to my daughter. You know what I mean? When she's struggling with stuff like that, and it's first of all, thank you for that, like to have had to carry that burden, especially out here in the Bay where like you like to think we're progressive, but sometimes
Yeah.
there is the
So,
ugly side of it all,
yeah.
right?
But I think
And
it's just a part of the, thank you for saying that, by the way. But I think it's, again, when I retweeted the Sixers announcement back in September, and it's very important to me. So that's why I keep coming back to it. Like,
yeah,
this is for all the women who came before me who had it much harder than me, because while I'm dealing with nasty tweets, like they were dealing with sexual harassment and being
yes,
pushed up against walls by coaches and players saying like, get the fuck out of here, we don't want you here.
yeah,
They kept going back to work the next day. So me having to deal with some mean people that I can then block and not have to ever see again,
yeah,
versus people that I'm actually working with telling me they hate me to my face, like it's nothing. So that was their burden, and I'm so thankful that they were willing to carry it. So now if I have to mute and block some people, yeah, does it suck, and do I wish I didn't have to deal with it, because it just makes the job that much harder on occasion, and I know my male counterparts don't have to deal with it in the same vein.
sure.
Sure, but if that's the burden, like bring it on, because I know it's nothing compared to the women who came before me.
Absolutely, and that story you just told with that fan who came up to you, I mean, that's just something I assumed happened to you all the time because you're so put together, and you're to me you've just always been Kate Scott, right? Where it's I
Fake
probably
it till you make it, Ben. Fake it till you make it.
and I think that's a beautiful moment, and honestly, it's stuff like that the off camera, off mic stuff that I think resonates the most. And it was beautiful to hear you tell that story. Because again, it's as much as fighting through all the crap that you've had to fight through sucks to listen to. Again, it's also encouraging. That's the stuff where I'm like, oh, that's just beautiful. And I don't know if it's why we do it. I think it's why we do this because we love sports, but
But it helps, right?
it's a
It helps.
byproduct. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, last weekend, I don't know when this is going to air, but like I deleted Twitter and Insta from my phone,
Yeah.
because even though I was getting tons of tweets saying we love you, we're so happy you're here in Philly, right? You know this as somebody who has to be on social media for work. It is always the one or two from the people
Yeah.
saying you suck,
Yep.
fire Kate Scott, go back to San Francisco. Those are always the ones you remember.
Yep.
And I just realized it was getting to me mentally. And I thought, all that matters right now is that you have to do a great job on these broadcasts. So screw everything else. You'll get back to social media when you have the space for it. So I deleted them because I couldn't handle it. So then to have that interaction in person a week later, like she tweeted me a few days later, I'm so sorry if I rambled or embarrassed myself. And I don't think people on the outside sometimes realize like that lifted me up. I
Yeah.
needed that so much because I was so in my own head. So to have a personal interaction, I could tell how much just what I'm doing means to this person who was born and raised here in Philly. Like I carried that with me all week long. So if you're a crazy fan out there, keep your distance. Don't like run up before I ask for the hug
Yeah.
back. But
Yeah.
that always, obviously it meant something to her, but it meant a lot to me too. So I always want to make sure to point that out to folks who come up to say, hey.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Just incredible. Also, Kate, so it's the holiday season, so if you don't mind, I'm gonna break. You already kind of razzed me for this because I asked you technically 1.5 questions earlier, but I'm gonna ask you a bonus question here because my wife will be
Bonus question.
yeah, she'll be upset if I don't ask it because
Okay.
she's a fellow Cal Berkeley alum. So when I
Girl,
told her you
go
were
Bears.
going to be on, she was
Okay.
extremely excited to get your
Uh-oh.
take on the
Uh-oh.
following question.
Uh-oh.
What is your favorite spot to eat at in Berkeley?
Ooh. Ooh. Well, I could go back and forth. Like when people ask me my favorite cheesesteak in Philly, I'm not taking that bait because I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, I may be blonde, but I'm not that stupid. Come on. But it burned down after I graduated, but now it's back. Intermezzo, they've renamed it Mezzo.
Mezzo. Oh my
Cooler
God.
on Telegraph, but that was the spot when we were in school because you're poor when you're a student, and the
Yeah.
salads were like the size of my head. And I have a
Massive.
really big head. That's why I have a hat on,
Yeah.
five head. But you could eat the salad for like lunch and dinner. So anytime you
Yeah.
could knock out 2 meals in college, but it wasn't just big, they were also delicious. And they give you this big hunk of honey wheat bread, and you always got a slice of pineapple, which didn't really make sense because pineapples in California.
Right.
Anyway, and then it burned down after college, but now it's back. So it's so fun. Anytime a friend who moved away, like so many people did, would come back, I'd be like, guess what's back? Mezzo. And then of course you have to top it off. You have to save a little room, take some of it home, and Yogurt Park right around the corner.
Yes.
Best frozen yogurt in the country. Yopa Yogurt Park. Get the small. I thought I'd go for the large. It was too much for me to handle. I couldn't. Your girl can take down a lot of food, but I couldn't. So just get the regular. Or if you're not feeling like you need that much dessert, the mini. But Mezzo, get the salad, whatever their
Wow.
salad is, with their dressing. That's just say, I want the regular. I want the huge. Is that your wife's spot too?
It is. I like. So we live in San Jose now, and that drives a little bit further.
That's
So
a drive.
when we go, Mezzo is where we're going. Like
Yeah.
that is the reason for the trip. Like I still fall back to Top Dog. Like I love
Of
Top
course,
Dog
maybe
so much.
La Burrita, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
My friend just moved back across the country before I then moved to the other side of the country. We had really shitty timing when it came to that. But I was like, it's midnight. We
Yes.
both, our spouses are preoccupied with other things. Like, let's do a midnight La Burrita run. So we went
Oh,
to
that's
La
also
Burrita
good.
at midnight,
Yeah.
which is right next to Top Dog.
Right next to it. Yeah.
Not the best burrito that you probably ever had, but just the memories, right? The nostalgia of those two shops next to each other.
Right. Exactly. It fed us many late nights. So
It
it is just the nostalgia. But Mezzo,
Right
she's
here,
gonna be
I knew it, Ben.
right.
I've known for a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
I think this is our first time talking over Zoom.
In person.
We've
Yeah.
done it
Oh,
for
in
years,
person. Yeah.
But I could tell.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, she's gonna be thrilled with that. I'm gonna tell her the minute we hop off here. But Kate, that's it. That's your one and done experience.
I mean,
I
it was
wanted.
kind of 3.5 and done, but I still
Yeah. It's been a long time coming. I feel like so I had to get it in there. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to throw it to you to plug anything you've got going on. You know, the upcoming games, any pods that you're doing or been on, like whatever you got. The floor is yours.
Nothing, man. I'm not going to plug anything. I will plug my really good friend Kate Fagan's pod because I like to
Please.
name drop when I can.
Yes.
She just started a new pod on the Levitard Network. It's called Outside
Yeah.
the Looking Glass. And it is awesome because I'm very judgy when it comes to my pods. But it's sports, but also culture and history, but it's funny and it's light, but then it goes down rabbit holes of seriousness, but then pulls back to light. Really good production because there's too many really badly produced podcasts that
Yep.
I like music beds and sound effects, obviously not in this interview type, but so check it out. Outside the Looking Glass, my buddy Kate Fagan. And then just be kind to each other. Everybody's going through something right now. So even if you want to flip somebody off or go a little road rage, don't know what's going on. So take care of each other. Be kind. Great to catch up with you, Ben.
There it is. Kate, thank you so much for coming on One and Done, and hope to have you on again soon.
Sounds good, man. Go Sixers.